Welcome back to Buzz Breakdown, Dragon Ball Edition, Episode 3. I'm Robert Price.
And I'm Samantha Peterson. Let's get ready to dive deep.
Today we're looking into one of the Dragon Ball universe's most talked about characters, Gohan. He's Goku's son, the one with so much potential. I'm excited to break this down. He's often considered one of the most powerful characters in the entire Dragon Ball universe, but he's taken such a different path than his father more. We've got a stack of articles analyzing Gohan's portrayal in Dragon Ball Super. Superhero plus background info from sources like the Dragon Ball Wiki and character bios.
What's fascinating about Gohan is how he embodies the push and pull between classic shonen tropes like the Saiyan drive to become the strongest and the desire to break free from those expectations. That internal conflict makes him a really compelling character, even if it sometimes frustrates the fans.
Oh, for sure. It's like the creators were trying to create a new kind of hero, but then kept getting pulled back into familiar territory.
Okay.
So let's go back to the beginning. Gohan starts off as this timid kid, but there are hints of something more bubbling beneath the surface.
He's the first Saiyan-human hybrid we meet, which automatically makes him unique. He's got this incredible power hidden within him, but he's initially very reluctant to use it. He doesn't share that Saiyan thirst for battle, but when his loved ones are in danger, watch out.
Right? Like when he injures Raditz as a toddler or when he headbutts Nappa, those moments are shocking because you see this explosion of power coming from this sweet, innocent kid. It really sets the stage for his whole character arc.
Absolutely, and that tension between his human and Saiyan sides is a constant thread throughout the series. But here's where it gets really interesting for me. Apparently, creator Akira Toriyama initially planned for Gohan to succeed Goku as the main protagonist. He was supposed to take the reins after the Cell Saga.
Well, hold on. Seriously. So Dragon Ball could have been the story of Gohan, not Goku. That would have been a totally different show.
Right.
What happened? Why did Toriyama change his mind?
Well, according to Toriyama, Gohan's personality didn't quite fit the mold of a traditional shonen hero. He felt Goku's relentless drive and optimism were better suited for a leading role. I wonder if Toriyama also felt pressure from fans who love Goku's classic hero persona. Either way, it's a decision that's had a ripple effect on Gohan's entire journey.
It's like he was set up for this grand destiny, but then fate or maybe Toriyama had other plans. But even though he didn't become the main character, Gohan still had some huge moments, especially during the Cell games. That Super Saiyan 2 transformation is iconic. I mean, come on. Who didn't get chills watching that?
Oh, absolutely. The raw power he unleashes against Cell is amazing. But even with that victory, Toriyama's decision to stick with Goku as the lead colored how Gohan was treated for years. It's almost as if Gohan's potential was too much too fast and the story didn't know what to do with him except push him to the sidelines. He continued to play a significant role, but often as a supporting character, like in the Buu saga, we see him training Goten, supporting his friends, but never quite reaching the heights he did against Cell.
Okay, so that brings us to Dragon Ball Super. Superhero, this was marketed as Gohan's big comeback, right? With a brand new form. Gomba Beast, it seemed like he was finally getting back in the spotlight. Fans were hyped to see him unleash that potential again. So did the movie deliver? Was Gohan finally given his due?
That's where things get tricky. While Gohan has some incredible moments in Superhero and Gohan Beast is visually stunning, a lot of the articles we read argue that the film ultimately shifts the focus back to Piccolo. He drives a large chunk of the plot, exposes the Red Ribbon Army's plan, and even gets his own new transformation, Orange Piccolo.
Wait, so the movie that was supposed to be Gohan's big moment ends up being more about Piccolo? You're kidding, right?
Yeah, it's like a bait and switch, right? And some fans felt that it undermined all the hype surrounding Gohan's return. They see it as the movie unintentionally reinforcing Toriyama's earlier choice to keep Goku as the protagonist. It raises this question, is Gohan forever destined to play second fiddle?
Yeah, some fans must be furious. They've been waiting for Gohan to reach his full potential for years, and now this got frustrating.
Oh, there's definitely some frustration out there, but some argue that Gohan's strengths actually shine brighter when he's not carrying the weight of being the main hero. They point to moments like his fight against Buu, where he's incredibly effective, but ultimately needs Goku's help to seal the deal. It's like his power is amplified when he's fighting for something or someone he truly cares about.
Okay, so maybe it's not about whether Gohan is the main character or not. Maybe it's about how he uses his power and who he chooses to fight for. That's an interesting take. But then what really drives Gohan to fight in the first place? Is it just Saiyan instincts or is there something deeper going on?
That's the question that really makes Gohan such a fascinating character to analyze. It's clear that his human relationships, his love for Videl and Pan, his bond with Piccolo, are what truly motivate him. It's not about becoming the strongest, it's about protecting those he cares about.
And that's a theme that resonates throughout Superhero,
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean, Piccolo's kidnapping is what triggers Gohan's rage and ultimately leads to his transformation into Gohan Beast. It's not just about getting stronger, it's about protecting his loved ones.
Exactly. For Gohan, it's always been about protecting those he cares about. That's what unlocks his true potential, and it's what makes him such a compelling and relatable character, even with all the superhuman abilities.
I'm with you there. Okay, so we've talked about his motivations, but we can't forget about Gohan's transformations. He's gone through quite a few over the years. Great Ape Super Saiyan, Super Saiyan 2, Ultimate Gohan, and now Gohan Beast. Each form is like a visual representation of his journey. Let's break those down a bit. First up, Great Ape. Wasn't that more of a Saiyan primal instinct thing?
Right, it's tied to his Saiyan heritage and the full moon, but even as a child, Gohan's great ape form was incredibly destructive. Remember that rampage?
Oh, yeah. Terrifying talk about raw, untamed power. But then he achieved Super Saiyan at a younger age than anyone else, right? That was a huge deal.
It was a major turning point in the series. It showed that Gohan's potential was even greater than Goku's and Vegeta's at that time. And then, of course, there's the iconic Super Saiyan 2 transformation during the Cell games. The emotion, the intensity of that moment is still talked about today.
Definitely one of the most memorable scenes in Dragon Ball history. It felt like all of his rage and determination just exploded outward. But what about Ultimate Gohan? How does that differ from Super Saiyan 2? They both seem incredibly powerful.
Ultimate Gohan achieved through Elder Kai's ritual is about unlocking his full potential without the need for transformations. It's pure, unadulterated power, surpassing even Super Saiyan 3 in strength. It was a game changer at the time, showing Gohan at the absolute peak of his abilities. It was almost like Gohan had finally transcended the need for these outward displays of power.
Wow, so it's like he's tapping into a deeper well of power, something beyond the Super Saiyan forms. And finally, we have Gohan Beast, his newest form. What can you tell me about that?
Visually, it's striking silver hair, red eyes, this aura of raw energy. It's described as a manifestation of his controlled rage, a more refined version of the raw power he unleashed against Cell. He's not just angry, he's focused, and that makes him even more dangerous.
So it's like he's finally mastered that emotional intensity without losing himself in it. That's pretty incredible. But what does it all mean? Is Gohan Beast his final form, or is there even more power waiting to be unlocked?
That's the big question, isn't it? And honestly, I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. It all depends on what direction the story takes us, but that's what keeps fans coming back for more. Dragon Ball is full of possibilities, and Gohan is at the center of so many of them.
It's like Gohan's story is a reflection of Dragon Ball itself. There's this constant push and pull between the familiar and the new, the desire to surpass limits and the need to find meaning beyond power. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed by all this information. It's like we've only scratched the surface of Gohan's complexity.
We've covered a lot of ground in this first part of our deep dive, but there's so much more to explore. We've talked about his powers, his transformations, the debate about his role in the Dragon Ball universe, but we haven't even touched on his relationships and how those have shaped him. That's where we'll pick up in part 2, so make sure to stay tuned for that.
Don't go anywhere, folks. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Buzz Breakdown Dragon Ball Edition. We're picking up our deep dive into the world of Gohan, exploring the relationships that have shaped him and the questions surrounding his ultimate destiny.
We've already unpacked so much about Gohan, his powers, his struggles to find balance, the constant back and forth about whether he should follow Goku's path or forge his own. But as you said, we can't ignore the impact his relationships have had on his journey. They're a huge part of what makes Gohan so compelling.
Absolutely. And, we're doing all this for you.
Yeah.
We want you to come away from this deep dive understanding Gohan and his place in the Dragon Ball world on a whole new level.
We're like your Saiyan Sherpas guiding you through the peaks and valleys of Gohan's story.
Exactly. So where we left off, we were talking about Gohan's newest form, Gohan Beast, and how it seems to represent a new mastery for him.
It's not just raw power, but control, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's always struggled with that balance between his Saiyan rage and his human heart. Like when he went berserk against Cell, it was intense, but it also felt like he was losing himself.
Exactly. But with a Gohan Beast, it's like he's finally harnessed that rage, channeling it into a focused and devastating force. The silver hair, the red eyes. It's all very visually striking, too. It's like the artists were trying to visually represent that inner conflict being resolved.
Right, and that's something you pointed out earlier about his constant search for balance. It's like this new form is the payoff for all those internal conflicts he's faced throughout this series.
And what's really intriguing is how Gohan Beast seems to be tied to his love for his family when Pan is kidnapped. That's when Gohan truly snaps, pushing him to unlock this new level of power. It's like his protective instincts are amplified 1,000-fold.
It's not just fighting for the sake of fighting anymore. It's about protecting those he loves. And it makes you wonder if Gohan Beast is the culmination of his journey or just another step in his evolution. Is this his final form, or is there even more to come?
Those are the questions that keep us on the edge of our seats, right? But for now, let's shift gears a bit and talk about those crucial relationships we mentioned. We have to start with his bond with Piccolo, one of the most enduring and complex relationships in Dragon Ball. It's a classic mentor-student dynamic, but it goes so much deeper than that.
There's a real sense of respect and affection between them.
Yeah.
It's almost like a father-son relationship, which is pretty ironic considering how they started out.
Totally. Remember, in the early days, Piccolo was this harsh, demanding teacher, pushing Gohan to his limits, even seeming cruel at times. But as the series progressed, he became this incredible source of support for Gohan, always believing in his potential, even when Gohan doubted himself. And you can't forget that defining moment, Piccolo's sacrifice to save Gohan from Nappa's attack. It's heartbreaking, but it also cemented their bond forever.
And that's the thing about Dragon Ball. It's got these incredibly high-stakes battles, but it's also full of these emotionally resonant moments that stay with you.
Right, and we see that connection play a major role again in Superhero. It's Piccolo who sets the stage for Gohan to unlock Gohan Beast. He knows how to push Gohan's buttons, understands what it takes to bring out his full potential.
It's like he's the key to unlocking the strongest version of Gohan, but we can't forget about Gohan's other key relationships, especially with his family.
Of course, his love for Videl and Pan is a major driving force in his life. He wants to be a good husband, a good father, and that desire motivates him just as much as any Saiyan battle lust.
It's a side of Gohan that we don't always get to see, but it's incredibly important. He's not just a warrior, he's a family man. And that adds a whole new dimension to his character.
It also brings up those interesting questions about the legacy he wants to leave behind. Does he want Pan to follow in his footsteps and become a fighter, or does he hope she chooses a different path?
It's a relatable dilemma, right? So many parents struggle with that, wanting the best for their kids while respecting their choices. It's just that most of us aren't dealing with half-Saiyan children who can blow up planets.
Exactly, and it's a struggle Dragon Ball actually explores with surprising depth. Gohan's constant push and pull between his Saiyan heritage and his human values is something a lot of people can relate to, even if they've never fired a Kamehameha.
It's like a metaphor for figuring out who you are and where you belong in the world. And sometimes that means defying expectations and forging your own path.
And speaking of defying expectations, we haven't even touched on Gohan's academic pursuits.
Oh yeah, the scholar who could destroy galaxies. It's a pretty interesting combination.
It definitely sets him apart from other Saiyans who are typically all about combat and training.
But Gohan, he's got this thirst for knowledge. It's almost like he wants to understand the universe as much as he wants to protect it.
A warrior with a sharp mind is a force to be reckoned with, and who knows, maybe Gohan's future lies not on the battlefield but in the halls of academia.
Maybe he'll be the one to finally unravel the mysteries of Saiyan biology or develop some incredible technology that benefits all of humankind.
The possibilities are endless, and that's what keeps us coming back for more. Gohan is a character who constantly surprises us, breaking free from those constraints and forging his own destiny.
He's a reminder that even in a world of superpowered beings, it's our choices that define who we are. So, where do you see Gohan's journey leading him? Will he finally step out of Goku's shadow, or will he continue to carve his own path, finding a different way to be a hero? Those are the questions we'll tackle in part 3, so stick around. We're back and ready to wrap up our deep dive on Gohan.
You know, it's been a wild ride.
Oh yeah, tons to unpack with this character.
Exactly like we've been